I want to get some perspective on this. Political analyst James Boyd's with us, as Anne McElvoy, senior editor at The Economist. As we look at those live images, good morning to you both. First of all, very windy, as we can see, as you saw there from President Trump arriving. And I want to start with you, if I may. What can Britain get out of this visit?
Well, two things. Short term, because we're in the Brexit process, and because unless there is a dramatic move to reverse that, then some form of Brexit could well ensue. Well, in that case, it's very important that you have very good relations with your trading partners, and that great sort of sweet US trade deal that a lot of Brexiteers have been hoping would happen can really only happen with President Trump say so. And we know that he's a difficult negotiating partner on trade anyway, but he does seem to have something of a soft spot for the Brits, or at least for the Brexit side Britons, as we've heard in the last few days. Does that then cash out into anything that you could bring home in a deal? Many people doubt that, but at least it's going to be worth a try for those pursuing that. And then just more broadly, Trump will come, Trump will go. The relationship between the US and Britain has been very solid. And I think if you have such a thing as the British deep state, it kind of crosses its fingers and says, well, you know, this is not the easiest visit to carry off if we can get away with it. Then this relationship remains solid. We get round this big problem that you've discussed about Huawei and our security relationship, which has been very tight, and that is for longer than there is going to be a President Trump.
Of course, James, he will also be coming here not just for the pomp and the pageantry that I was talking about, but also there'll be key aspects of policy that he will want to iron over, not just so much with Theresa May, but perhaps looking at within the Conservative Party, who may be able to follow him on the questions of China, Huawei, Iran nuclear deal, correct? Those are some of the aspects.
Yeah, and that's going to be really, I think, the focus of tomorrow, when he is the main political focus. It's difficult to know exactly how much progress he can make on this trip, because, of course, as you rightly point out, we're in an era of transition here. He is kind of putting his thumb on the scale a little bit by advocating Boris Johnson as potential future Prime Minister. One wonders whether he's seen some of the remarks that Boris Johnson has come out with that have been dug up from the past that could prove a bit embarrassing for Boris Johnson, I think. But certainly this idea, as we saw Ambassador Johnson saying before the president left for the United Kingdom, the Americans are going to look at getting all aspects of a deal in terms of British business. A number of people are getting very concerned about, for example, American suggestion that they want the NHS to be involved in any future negotiation. So that could prove to be a problem and a sticking ground, I think, for any future negotiations.
Explain to our viewers around the world why that's a concern, the NHS aspect. This is something that is the crown jewel, isn't it?
I think one of the reasons, obviously, is that we take great pride in our National Health Service here, and there's a perspective about how it's run, etc. And that is in stark contrast, of course, to the health care providing which is afforded to Americans, for example, even under what it was that Barack Obama introduced. So the idea that you could have any suggestion of privatisation of health care in this country is a real third rail. It's something which the Conservatives are often accused of, maybe unfairly, quite frankly. And so the idea that there could be an Americanisation of a National Health Service, I think, would be an anathema to many people in this country.
You mentioned Boris Johnson. We were talking about Boris Johnson and really President Trump endorsing him. Does that, do you think, help Boris Johnson at all? Or does it actually make it worse for him in terms of when it comes to getting the votes by Conservative Party?
Yeah, I think if you look at the Conservative selectorate and the members, I don't think, other than enjoying watching this spectacle on the television and you know, love him or hate him, there's always a spectacle when Donald Trump comes to town. Look around us. I don't think it makes so much of a difference. I think if anyone who knows that, you know, if you're a no dealer, you think, well, this goes to prove that Donald Trump thinks he's going to deliver it. And if you're perhaps a little bit more serpentine and think Boris Johnson will say that he wants to go out of the EU with or without a deal, but actually he's going to try and do a deal, well, then you might decide that it's better that he has a good in with Donald Trump anyway. I don't see it as decisive as President Trump probably thinks it is when he makes those remarks. And those who don't like him or he's aggressive towards, well, they're also profiting from it. Sadiq Khan's loving it, the Mayor of London, setting himself up. I mean, a lot of the world hadn't heard of Sadiq Khan till he attacked Donald Trump.
Last time,
so, you know, maybe it's a win-win, whichever side.
Well, President Trump is definitely here. And James, thank you very much. President Trump attacking him, saying Sadiq Khan, who by all accounts has done a terrible job as Mayor of London, has been foolishly nasty to the visiting President of the United States. Well,